Welcome back to the show. The COVID-19 pandemic has affected many people globally, affecting individuals across the globe, with students and teachers alike, with virtual-based life becoming the new kind of standard. Now, despite the obstacles and challenges students face during the pandemic, online learning has become an efficient way to continue pressing and learning academically. Our next guest has used the moment of pause occasioned by COVID-19 to establish a Bronx-based model of learning, integrating grassroots innovations in pedagogy, student mentoring, and support services in the holistic, interconnected, and aligned experience for students at Bronx Community College. Somebody says, what does that all mean? Making online learning a whole lot better. Joining us now is the professor of the Department of History and the director of online learning at Bronx Community College. We're pleased to be joined by Jordi Getman-Eraso and Jordi Getman-Eraso. And Jordi, I'm sorry, good to have you this morning.
It's a pleasure being here, Darren. Thanks for having me.
And as I said to people, pretty much your job is to make online learning a whole lot more simpler. A part of that is really trying to adapt and navigate to A, this virtual environment, and then B, to help us to be able to move forward. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a really good question because, you know, I mean, I've been teaching online probably about 15 years now. And what used to be something that was seen, especially in CUNY, as somewhat of, you know, an alternative way of learning that some students might be interested in, now has turned into what all of our students are forced to learn through. This online modality has forced all of us to sort of scramble and adapt to the new reality. That said, we also, in moving online, have the challenge of continuing to reach our students at Bronx Community College. Our students are not just any kind of student. They often come in with a lot of learned experience. They come in with a high degree of intelligence, I would argue, and yet maybe they don't have the type of confidence or experience with college learning that students in other institutions might. Maybe they don't have somebody in their family that's attended college, so they don't know what they're walking into. And so on our end as professors, we really have to step up to becoming mentors for them, not just a professor or an instructor who is, in a more traditional sense, you know, a gatekeeper of knowledge. We now find most of that information online that we might have distributed to them in the past in a more traditional mode of instruction. And so the challenge for the instructor is to be able to look at the students. Even though we're online, we have to reach out to them and understand where they're coming from. And once you are able to reach into the personal somewhat and try to bring it together with the academic, students, I think at Bronx Community College, we have found students are able to gain that level of confidence and connection to their education, so that going to college is not so much something that will be intimidating to them, but rather something that will become part of them, that they feel ownership over, and that as a result of that allows them to become empowered to become A, the best possible student, and then B, eventually find employment in an area that they would really enjoy working in.
So you're the newly appointed director of online learning. Congratulations about that too. And in the next question, I'll definitely talk to you about your duties. But I want to talk about from a student's perspective, because we automatically know students are going to have to make a transition to college, make a transition to the classroom, and then ultimately making that transition post-pandemic to a virtual environment. What have you gathered from students with regards to this transition? How are they making the transition, and how would you grade them making the transition?
That's a really good question, and it's something that I think before the pandemic we couldn't really have guessed where it would have gone. But we find we've done some surveying of students, and we've actually we've gotten on Zoom calls with students as well to get direct feedback, but also surveys. And what's really interesting is that there are a large number of students who just have not adapted very well to online learning. They find it difficult. The technology sometimes can be a handicap. because they don't have access to some of the computers or internet speeds that would be good for effective online learning. Beyond that, if you think about it, one of the big obstacles too is finding a space in which you can devote yourself to your education. So most of our students are living with family or in apartments, just like all of us. Finding a space within that apartment to be able to sit down and concentrate on your education when you have a lot of other responsibilities in life has been a big obstacle. That said, we're working really diligently to be able to provide our students with as much of the technology that we can. We are limited somewhat by budgeting. That's another big obstacle that the pandemic has brought forth. But what we also find is, on the other hand, there are students who, and I would say from our surveying, about 30 to 40% of our students who actually either prefer online learning or have found it to be easy to adapt to. And these are students who maybe they all have very busy lives. They have a lot of responsibilities, family, work, etc. And so for some students, being able to not have to travel to campus repeatedly throughout the week to go to classes, cutting that time out of, or regaining that time for their schedule, for their personal schedule, has become a beneficial, sort of a silver lining to the pandemic, let's say. And so they also find that some of our students have become, they might not have thought that online learning would be good for them, but they've really taken to the technology and to the ways in which we're also looking at professors. What type of professor is best suited for online learning, so that we can then, as we move away from the pandemic and professors and students will be filtering back to our campus for face-to-face courses, there will be a chunk of our professorate who will continue to teach online as part of our newly just now accepted by the state of New York new degree in liberal arts and sciences, AA degree. So we are going to be adding more degrees to that as we move forward. More departments are really interested in online learning because it does offer our students and some of our professors an advantage.
Yeah. Before we close out, I want to have the opportunity of asking you about what students can get by virtue of this class, talking about an e-portfolio. For some people who don't know what an e-portfolio, I know you guys are going to be helping out and developing an e-portfolio for students. What exactly is that, and what does that look like?
A new portfolio is basically a website that the student creates and can manipulate and curate without actually needing to know any programming skills. So at that level, it also allows for faculty and students to engage each other and to interact and comment on each other's work. The main aim of an e-portfolio, integrating e-portfolios into our teaching, is to give students a platform of their own where they can not just post homework, but also reflect on what they're learning. The idea here being that if this e-portfolio becomes their ownership, it's a technological tool, but conceptually, it really allows them to develop a space that is theirs academically, that they can then curate and develop into something that they could use to either transfer to a four-year school within CUNY, hopefully, or beyond, or they can use it as a type of online CV that has a lot more of them integrated into it that they could present to potential employers.
Jordi Getman-Eraso, thank you for being with us.
It has been a pleasure, Daren. Thank you so much. Anytime you want, I'm here to talk to you guys.
Definitely. We'll definitely have to have you back here on the show. I want to let you know that if you want more information, what we do is we encourage you to visit the website at bcc.cuny.edu. And we encourage you, please don't go anywhere. We've got more show coming up. We'll be right back right after this.